The Toronto Raptors are going to try to knock off the Miami Heat in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinal tonight. The Raptors are hoping to make the finals for the first time in team history. As always, Jurassic Park outside the Air Canada Centre will be packed with diehard fans. If Toronto does win the series, they will face the Cleveland Cavaliers next. Tip-off time for tonight's game in Miami is 8 o'clock Eastern. Blake Murphy is a writer with Raptors Republic. He joins us now from Toronto with more. Blake, what are you watching for tonight?
The big thing tonight, I think, other than the health status of Damari Carroll and Luol Deng, both of those players are questionable with left wrist injuries they suffered in the last game. Other than that, the big thing to watch, I think, is how small Miami gets and how aggressive they get staying small. They played 10 minutes without a center in Game 4. They played 15 minutes without a center in Game 5. And those lineups were positive for them. The Raptors decided to stay big, and the Raptors have been at their best when Patrick Patterson and Bismack Biyombo were on the floor together. But Miami may push it a little further and push it to maybe 20 minutes with a small lineup. And that poses some challenges. It poses some opportunities, too. But that's kind of the chess match between Eric Spoelstra and Dwayne Casey, the head coaches. And that's probably the most interesting strategic element for Game 6.
So Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan seem to find their rhythm in Game 5. How important will it be for these two guys to have a repeat performance tonight? How much rests on their shoulders?
Well, it's so huge. You've seen the Raptors get by without great performances from those two, and that's a credit to the team's depth and a credit to their defense and their toughness. But we saw in Game 5 how much easier offense comes when Lowry is hitting big shots and when DeMar DeRozan can get to the free throw line. Obviously, that's huge. I'm not sure if combined they can score, 59 points again. Miami's a very good defense. They ranked 7th in the NBA. And even without their center, Hassan Whiteside, they've done a really good job sealing off the paint and the rim. But as long as one of those two guys is going off for the Raptors, or they're both having good games rather than great games, I think the Raptors offense is going to be mostly okay. They moved the ball a little bit better last game. They pushed the pace a little bit better off of stops, and that's going to be really important.
Okay, so to the, what would I call it, the casual viewer like myself, we noticed them get a little sloppy. What's behind that? We saw that towards the end of Game 5. What was happening there, and does that need to be addressed for Game 6?
You'd like to address it, but this series has been nothing but slop for the most part. It's been a slow, ugly, grinded out kind of series, and all 5 games have been very close. And that's kind of how, in the playoffs, especially in the second round with two teams that fancy themselves defensive-minded, that's kind of how the end of games are going to look. In terms of protecting the basketball, the big thing the Raptors need to focus on is closing out quarters better. It's not just the fourth. They've kind of struggled all season long to end the first, second, third better, to the point that Dwayne Casey's now trying to tweak his rotations a little bit to make sure Kyle Lowry's always on the floor late in quarters. In terms of the end of the game, though, it's a tough call, because if you have a lead late, the most important thing, if you're up by 2 or 3 scores, is to eat a lot of clock when you get down into the last 2 minutes. And the Raptors do a good job of that, but the byproduct is you get some ugly looks. So that's a tough balance for Dwayne Casey and Lowry and DeRozan to balance. And it's really just on them to execute better. It sounds simple, but when you're up against a tough, aggressive defense, sometimes you're going to turn the ball over, and you just have to do your best to take care of it.
I feel like you're telling us to be prepared not to breathe again for a few minutes tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so final question, quick answer, please. Do you think they'll do it tonight? Do you want to make a prediction?
I don't want to be negative. It's very tough to close a good home team out on the road, especially a team as experienced as Miami. I think the Raptors win the series still, but I do think it's coming back for Game 7 on Sunday.
All right. Well, that may not be such a bad thing. All right. Blake Murphy, writer with Raptors Republic, thanks for your time.
Thank you.